Good afternoon. This is Dr. Bill White again with the American Orthodontic Society, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit this afternoon about selecting the brackets you want to use. Now, everybody has their own opinion about them and all this. I'm going to show you the brackets that I think are the easiest and the best, and they rotate teeth. They do the things I want to do with them around the teeth, and then you decide what you like. There are a lot of brackets on the market now, and I'm going to show you some of the virtues of some of the brackets that I have used over the years, and they've been very good. So we'll go ahead and start this off. Here is I'm just going to use a typodont here, and we're using a little woven wire here. We call it a wildcat wire. It's about three and four strands twisted together, and it's very flexible, and you can put it in places. And this is an old type wire. Now you can get an 016 niti wire and do the same thing, except it's more difficult to put bends in the niti wire. But you can bend it, but you have to bend it almost twice of what you want to get it to stay in position. Now the brackets that I'm going to show you here, now you can use double brackets on the anterior teeth. They're broad, but they show up more, and so normally we just use a little single bracket on the anterior teeth, but you have to really be careful about putting it right in the center, or you can use a winged bracket like we use over here on the bicuspids. You can use those on the centrals if you want to, and they are easier to rotate with. Now these are Lang and Lewis brackets, and they've been on the market for years, and they're as good as I can do just darn near anything with these brackets, as good as some of the fancy brackets they get on the market now. I probably will irritate some of the manufacturers because it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to make those little dies that they cast these brackets in, and so they spend a lot of money thinking they've got a superb bracket when to my way of thinking, you can take the older brackets like this and do this just fast and everything else. I can do anything they do with them with these simple brackets. Now, I don't want to kick the manufacturers. They're trying to get something better and better all along. But let's just go ahead and discuss the virtues of this type of bracket. Now, let's talk about the archwire coming in here. I want to make a video on the arch wires that we use, the intruding wire, and also this little flexible wire, the many things that it'll do. But this afternoon I want to just talk about the brackets. Now, this portion of the bracket right here, the wing portion, is made out of very soft metal, and you can bend them up. I'm going to get to a more magnified section of that in a little bit, and I'll show you a little better how we can bend those wires up. Now the little flexible wire that we put in here, we run it back into but we make a omega up here, but we make it where we can tie the arch wire back, so the omega has to lean forward a little bit. That's not a very good drawing of the omega. It would come, let's see, it'd come up something like this and come back, and you tie it back. You can tie this archwire back into the mouth and close spaces out here on the outside by making it tight. You have to tie one at a correct point over here, and the other one you can tighten over this way. Now when you start out with an archwire, you want to mark the midline of the arch before you do anything to it, because you need to keep it lined up, something like this. If you slide it to one side, it skews the archwire and the shape. I'm going to draw it more than it would be, but the shape of it would be out like that, you see. So you want to keep the midline of the archwire always in the center. So if you want to tighten the archwire, you tie one side back passive, and then you come over and tighten the other side, and you can push it back very tight, and you can actually blanch tissue in between a tooth if you've got a gap in here, and you tighten that archwire tight. This will blanch the tissue, and you can close a 1/4 of a millimeter or 1/2 millimeter just by tightening the wire up, you see. So you can close anything with it, except, if they were ankylosed, you'd have to break it loose and then you could close it. But we'll show you the omega here in a minute, or where we tighten the omega up. It tightens this whole archwire all the way around, but you tie one passive, and you're not going to be able to move this very much, so your midline will stay in the same place. And you always do that on any archwire you do. If you're going to shorten an archwire, you can come in between a couple of teeth like this and bend a little place up and down in it, but you got to come over to the other side and do the same thing. And then that keeps this center, and that shortens this or pulls the archwire back here so that you have more space to close in the wire. Like you have a whole gap of a tooth in here, you want to shorten the archwire, and you tie it back the same, but keep the midline right in the dead center. And I know that a lot of the people that watch these videos, you've been doing orthodontics for years and years, or you may be somebody who's very young in orthodontics, or just haven't been in there very long. So I want you to notice other things about the brackets. So I'm going to spend a good bit of time just talking about them. Now you see the lateral bracket right here is taller. Can you see that this bracket is taller than this bracket right here? In other words, the central is thicker than the lateral. And we want to keep the incisal edges of the teeth lined up all the way around, so they make this bracket taller, since nearly all laterals are thinner than all centrals and cuspids. So you make the bracket taller, and that brings these teeth, in other words, won't come out as far as the lateral wire will, and that kind of lines all this up. But every once in a while you have to put a cuspid eminence to bring the wire out, because the cuspid is a lot thicker than the other teeth on either side of it. So you have to do that. So there's a lot of different tricks to putting the brackets on there. Now, these brackets are excellent for rotating the tooth, and you try to put the bracket dead center in the tooth if you possibly can. Now let me get over here to a tooth that's a little bigger than that, and I'll show you what we do to rotate the bracket. Let me go through. Okay, here, well, here, this is better. Now, if I want to rotate, in other words, rotate this tooth back in this direction, you get an instrument that's kind of V-shaped like that on the end, and you put that instrument in between this wing and the base of the bracket right here. You see the base of that bracket will be right out here. You've got to get in that crack right there with this instrument, and then you move it up. And this instrument might be thinner than that, and you move it up, and that thing, when you rotate this triangular thing, it pushes down on the bracket and out on the wing of the bracket. In other words, you stick this little triangular thing in there, and then you bend it, and it'll pick up the wing and push it up against the wire here, and it pushes down on the base of the bracket so you don't pop your bracket off the tooth. Now this material is soft and it'll bend. It doesn't look like that would bend much, but it will. In other words, you can make this wing go up like that and touch this wire. If I push this arm up, this wing of the bracket up, and it hits the wire and pushes this wire out like that, you see, it will tend to rotate this tooth in this direction, you see. So you can rotate anything you want to with these little winged brackets. Now that may be a little confusing to some people that are just getting started into this. Now you've got to get a wedge material in here so that when you rotate it, it pushes down on the bracket base and up on the wing, and you can bend these wings up without popping your bracket off. That sounds pretty simple, but I'm not trying to talk down to anybody. Now we have a lot of young people who are just getting started in orthodontics, and that helps you rotate any tooth in the head up there that you've got these winged brackets on. Now a lot of times I'll use them right out on the centrals, who are then laterals, the central and the lateral. Now these teeth are broad, and you can stick a wider bracket on. Now the twin brackets, it's easy to rotate with them. See, you get it in the center, and they rotate the teeth quite well. But they're a big, broad bracket, and a lot of times you don't want to see the bracket. You want to make it as invisible as possible, or as small as possible, but you have to have a wire up there. It doesn't matter if you use these ceramic brackets or any of these colored brackets. Let me go back now, and we'll show some of these other slides. Now, here we make an omega in the archwire, and we run it through this tube right here. Now these are tubes that have 3 deals. Now the bottom one is 045 opening, and that's for headgears and large things. You can stick a Big Daddy wire in there if you want to, and expand any arch you want to. Now this next one is the one that we put the regular arch wire in, and if you've got this tooth banded back here and you have to make a bend in this wire to line this tooth up, you have to convert this tube, and they've got a little thing in there that it's kind of like you can stick in that thing and kind of prise it off, and it'll just peel this off of there just like a sardine can or anything. You open it up, and now this is a bracket instead of a tube. So you have to tie the archwire in once you convert that bracket. Now this tube right here is for intruding wires or lip bumpers or different things. In other words, we can come out of this tube here and we make a bend and we make a deal like that, and then we come up here and this comes out, and you have this on the other side of the mouth, and when you pull this wire down, that tightens this spring you've made, and this lifts the teeth up. So I'm going to cover that on arch wires that we put in here. Now I want to go and find the area where we tighten this up. This several. Now here's an omega over on this side, and you see the 3 tubes that we use in the 6-year molar band. Now the second molar band or bracket back here would just be a tube. That's all it needs. And a lot of times we don't even band or bracket the second molar up above if we've got the lower molar banded down here, and everything's, this will just fall into place. But if it doesn't, we band this one, and we always band the lower second and the lower first molar that we've got in line that are going to be coming up against that. Now, excuse me. Let me go back another and see. All right, now this is the full arch wire in there, and actually there's about 8 or 9, I can't write the 9 things that you can do with this little flexible wire. I'm going to do a video on that and just show you on that, or spread that out. Okay. Now, all right, I have to go back. I'm going back and forth. Now you can see the omega. When you bend, you start out with a wire in the center, mark where it is, and then you come up and you bend that like that. Now we've got an omega forming plier that helps you, but this wire's so flexible it's hard to bend with it, so we can make them by hand just about as quick. So we make the omegas on each side that are correct distance in here, and if we want to shorten this wire, we have to tie one of these back in place and then come on the other side and tighten that one up. Now I've got a spot in here where we're showing we've got a director, and we push it right into this groove, and we wrap the tie back wire here and tie that back. Let me see if I can, here it is. Now this is called a director. If we turned it around the other way, it would be kind of like that, you see. And you put that little V right in here, and you, sorry for this, you put pressure on this, but now you've already tied the other side back, so it's not going to move off or change the position of the central, the center of the wire. And you push back on this, and it'll tighten this wire just real tight. And you can close a space between the upper centrals if you want to, just by tying the wire back. And it doesn't matter. You say, well, you have friction in there, and it doesn't. You can push on that and close it. It doesn't make any difference as long as somebody hadn't bitten down on something hard and actually clamped the wire And if you do that, you've got to take this out and put something in there, spread that bracket back out again so that it's free to slide back and forth in there. So here we're running the wire through this part that has the little spot welded cap on top of the bracket, and we reach in there and you can peel that thing off, and now you've got to tie the wire in there before you do this, tying the arch wire back. So if we have to put a bend in here to make it go into this one, we'll have to convert the bracket, and that's what we call it, just converting it from a bracket, from a tube, till it's just a bracket. Okay, now that covers tying this back to some extent. Now, putting little O-rings on there, you can get them on bent wire like that, or you can pull them off of where they pour them and make them up. Now that's a tiny little clamping device that you just pull in there and pinch the deal, and then you just stretch it over and hook it over both sides of this. Now this is a tie back wire, and we normally, if we're going to use this for hooking an elastic to that they'll be wearing down here, we will make this out of an 012 soft stainless steel. A regular steel tie back is made out of 010, and this is 2 thousandths bigger than the 010, or the 10 thousandths, 12 thousandths, and we use another one that is 014. We make some of the tiebacks out of 14 thousandths. This one you use a lot. This one we use for tying and making little omegas. You take the wire and make a little circle there, and then you twist it a few times, and now you come in and thread it over the bracket like that and twist it down and put your twist underneath here, and you've got a little hook here that you can hook an elastic to. You can make your own deal for hooking the elastic down to that. Now this is not good for running and hooking your elastic down here, you see. If you do, that thing bends. You've got to have a pretty stiff wire to be able to hook it lower than that. Now the beauty of a lower hook for class 2s is that a class 2 elastic, you think of it as being in a rectangular box. It has a certain vertical component and a horizontal component, and the more horizontal compared to the lesser vertical, your vertical tends to pull these teeth down as you use class 2 elastics, which we may not want, and so we have to compensate with the arch wire or get this as low as we can get it so that your rectangle is very narrow in there. Now that may be a little confusing to some people, but play it over and listen to it. Now here we take these little elastics, or little clear elastic that hold this on. We take them off. You get you an Explorer and get right in this corner, and you just run the Explorer down in there, and you can you can pull the little elastic loose and pull it up that way. I think I'll show another one doing that. Yeah, here we are, and now we're taking this off the tooth. We put it on with a little thing that you clamp it with, and we take it off with an Explorer like that, and so that works good. Now, coming back here is a little deal that we put them on with. It's a little hemostat, and it'll clamp down on them, and you can clamp just the edge and hook it onto the bracket with this. And a lot of times these elastics come in a string like that. You can stick them on an arch wire, kind of a doubled arch wire, and you can reach in there and peel them off of that easier than you can pulling them off of a deal like this. Okay, and let me go back on this now. Now I'm going to cover the use of the step-down arch in another video, which we can show it a little better. I like to make this slightly longer than this and come across and come up here. This arch wire here, you can expand the space with it, and you can contract it if you want to. If you're expanding it, you make these ledges, these arch wires going up, shorter. In other words, you have to squeeze them together to get them in this place. And when you push this together to get it in here, it bows this part down here up like that. And when you bow that up, it kicks this part up here and makes this one go up in that direction. You see, it goes up in that direction. As you squeeze this together, this will go in and that'll go up. So when you squeeze that and put it in there, it puts this type of force on it. And that makes the root of the tooth go the way the crown is going. And this is one arch wire when you can expand with it, and it is the crown and the root go the same way. Or if you contract or pull it together, you make this shorter. I'll have to explain that a little better here. Like the wire coming in like here, you don't just come down. We come in, we do like this, and we come in, and now we can put a tie back on this and pull that up, and that makes this arm come out this way, and that pulls this tail down. And so as you pull this together, this wire here is pulling the root with you while you pull the crown with the top part of it. Now if you think that through, that works. But a step down arch, you can expand or you can contract, and it kicks the crown the same way the root goes the same way the crown goes. Maybe I ought to say it like that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on another video, just going through that. Okay, now we've covered attaching the deals to the arch wire, and there's one or two things. Now you can tighten an arch wire up, and you can close space with the arch wire, and you can expand. You can have this loop bigger and coming out like this, and you can put it in here and you squeeze the loop back, and it's pushing out on this wire, and you can expand the arch with that little flexible wire also. So it can be, you can squeeze the arch together and you can expand it with this little flexible wire, how you use this omega back here in the back part of it. Okay, now I want to go back, and I think I've explained how we put a V-shaped instrument in here and bend it or twist it, and it'll raise that arm up. As it pushes out against this, then that arch wire pushes on that, and it tends to rotate this tooth, in that direction. So these are excellent for rotating teeth. I used to use them an awful lot, but they got food underneath here in certain areas, and we didn't have good sealants, and so they would get decalcification. So I stopped using them and just put a single bracket in there. Then we use a plastic wedge on one side when we need to rotate with them. So there are different ways of skinning the cat, but you can do it that way. Now, I think we've covered most of the stuff about the winged brackets. Have soft metal wings, and you change the wing by having a V-shaped instrument that you put in here, and you push up on it. It pushes down on this bracket base and up on the wing, and it won't pop the bracket off the tooth. So that's something you may need to know, and I personally like these brackets, and we've used them for years, and I can do anything with them that they can do with the fanciest bracket they've come out on the market. And I don't mean to irritate them and make the manufacturers, because they're trying to get the best thing they can possibly do, but these little brackets will do the job if that's what you want, and you don't even have to have the wings. If you learn and you get good at it, you can put these little wedges under, and you just got a little single bracket sticking up there, and you got to make darn sure you're right in the center of the tooth. And if the tooth is rotated, you got to get at the center, or just as close you can possibly can, and pull it around. If you can't get it to the center, you take it off after you rotate it away, and re-bracket that tooth and get it in the center where it'll work. So thank you for watching this, and I hope you picked up something. Like, we take a double optical plier or anything and reach back and bend that in a little bit so you don't get it caught on your cheek or something like that, and you can slide it out and slip it back in. Now, a more rigid wire, you can't bend that much. You can bend it a little bit and slide it out of the tube and slip it back in. And hope you picked up something on brackets and making a decision, the brackets to use. They're very expensive brackets that you get, and you think the manufacturers, it costs them thousands and thousands of dollars to make the die just for one type of bracket with a certain amount of torque in it and a certain amount of tip in the bracket and all this. They spend a lot of money on those brackets, and so when they've spent a few $1 million getting one on the market, they advertise it and they do everything. And some of these, they get a good operator to come in and put on programs, and people come by the dentists come in there by flocks and pay to see these brackets, and they go and buy them, and they cost more than regular brackets. But the manufacturer, I can't blame them for wanting to get their money back out of, and they're trying to get something that's really super good. But we haven't found a bracket yet that's going to just put the bracket on there. It's going to straighten the tooth out. And I can do anything with a simple bracket like this. So I hope you learn from this. And I don't mean to irritate the manufacturers, but I don't need that fancy bracket. So we'll pass this on and go back now. That's a tightening the arch wire like that. You use it, they call this thing a director, and it's got a little, it's just a kind of a deal with a V shape deal like that you put in here, and you push on that and pull on this wire and twist it down on that, and then tuck it inside here, and it's as tight as the dickens. In fact, you can't see it, but this will straighten this wire out between each tooth, even though you're going in a crook. So wherever you've got teeth like this wire in here will be straight. In between the teeth, it will be straight. And it's like a spring. You pull on it and straighten it out, and that wire will close back, and it'll close space in between times which you tighten that wire back. And a lot of people don't realize it. When you tighten the arch wire in between each bracket, the wire will be straight when you tighten it up, and it'll tend to bend back up as the time. I mean, if you see them every 3 or 4 weeks or something like that, when they come back, the arch wire will be back in a bow, and it'll be shorter than it was when they stopped. So that's how you close space, and you can open space with these wires by putting spring in between here, and you'll open space. But if you start opening very much, then you need to put some tip in the tooth. You come over here and go down this way, you see, and that makes the root go the way the crown goes. So you need to learn that too. And I look at some works that people are doing, and there's a lot of them do not fully understand how bending that wire, you can make that tooth do just darn near anything you want to. Now you've got to get in a rectangular wire to really get to do it. So we finish everything in a rectangular wire, and I use 0.18 bracket slots, and I usually finish all the stuff in an 0.175 arch wire, see. And it's got 1,000 clearance in here, but I put torque in it and make the root come out or in. It doesn't matter whichever way you want it to. And if you expand the whole arch, you've got to put buckle root torque in them. So I'm going to close up here, and I think we've said enough on this. I hope you enjoy this video. It's a little more than just brackets, but there's a lot more to orthodontics than meets the eye. And so I'm going to sign off, and thank you for watching, and I'll close this up. Thank you now.